My name is John Lagrave. I'm the lead game producer for World of Warcraft.
And my name is Ion Hazzikostas, and I'm the lead encounter designer on World of Warcraft. Okay, so, in terms of the differences, obviously a lot of it is, the same type of content that our players are accustomed to. Players are looking for more raid bosses, new challenges to overcome, new epic fights to have and to defeat. And so we have a lot more of that, right? We have 18 raid bosses in the 5.0 patch alone, including 2 outdoor world bosses and 16 in instances. That's far more than we had in Cataclysm. On the dungeon front, we have 9 available max level dungeons people can do at level 90, 6 brand new ones, and then revamps of the 2 Scarlet Monastery instances and Scholomance back in the old world. In terms of differences, I think one thing that we found looking at the Cataclysm release dungeons, many players felt and expressed their feedback to us that they were frustrated by the difficulty of those dungeons. And some of that was that we were perhaps slow to adapt to the change in the way players consume the content and experience the dungeons as a result of the looking for group dungeon finder mode. That, our dungeons, we had been accustomed to tuning them for groups of friends and guildmates that were playing on a regular basis together, that, if they made a mistake, you could learn from your mistake and then apply it next time to win. But when you're using random match-made groups, if you learn from your mistake, there's no guarantee that people that are with you the next time are going to be the same, and you may be in the same situation again, and that could get frustrating. So we very rapidly responded to that feedback in Cataclysm and made our dungeons, we reduced the difficulty of the dungeons in Cataclysm. Mists of Pandaria will continue on that reduced difficulty for the release dungeons. However, and so, players who were frustrated by the Cataclysm ones hopefully will have a much better experience this time around. However, we really like the gameplay of 5 coordinated players working their way through a dungeon, and we often have and hear about fond memories of some of the Burning Crusade heroic dungeons going even further back. That's one of the really coolest things you have in an MMO, I think, that you really aren't going to get in any other type of game or any other type of genre, where you have, 5 people working together, coordinating things like crowd control and target orders, and, the tank protecting the healer from loose mobs, and all of that mattering. It's really, that's what the challenge modes in Mists of Pandaria are there to restore, to really bring back that sense of having to push yourself and coordinate and execute skillfully in order to win. The challenge mode is an additional difficulty, even harder versions of the max level dungeons, often including new abilities, new mechanics where appropriate. And what we do additionally is that we normalize players' gear. So player gear is scaled down to a fixed level so that you can't outgear them, you can only outskill them. You can only win by playing better. And this is a race against the clock. We offer prestige rewards, not player power, but titles, unique mounts, unique armor that will let you look different, basically cooler than anyone else in the world if you've accomplished these goals. And we offer leaderboards that are going to be available on the web, and you can compare yourself to your guildmates, to your friends, and for the very best people, they can compete to be the best in the server, or even best in the country, best in the world.
Well, I'll speak about the leveling side of it, and the encounter guy should definitely handle the instancing. But leveling, we've got 7 zones to deal with. The players are going to be starting in Jade Forest. They're going to be landing in either the Alliance base or the Horde base, and that's going to tie in off of what you guys saw in the cinematic, which is the world at war. We're going back to the old notion of WoW, the classical notion of let's explore a world. If you're Horde, you're sticking with your guys and you hate Alliance and you're kill on sight gnomes or whatever, right? So you're going to be going through 7 different zones in Pandaria. And you're going to be seeing all sorts of different terrain. You're going to have the forests, jungles. There's the Dreadways. So you've got Kunlai Summits, which is the great big mountain peaks where the Shadowpan are. You're going to be going through that, progressing through. And we've learned that players, as they level through the game, they really consume that pretty quickly, and they're wanting to get to that end level. So we've often created way too many zones for it. We've done that again here, no surprise, but a lot fewer. So you're going to go through most of those zones before you hit level 90. You're going to get a broad taste of what Pandaria is. And then as far as instances goes,
Yes, so because we have 18 raid bosses in Mists of Pandaria released, that's quite a number of raid bosses. And we're pacing them out so that players both are reaching the content at a time when they're ready to handle it and also don't really feel overwhelmed right away. The 2 outdoor world bosses will be available from day 1. So whoever gets to level 90 first, they can race to get a raid group together and go take those bosses out. And so in any case, the 2 world bosses will be available from day 1 as soon as Mists of Pandaria becomes accessible, so people can race to level 90 to get their group, get their guild together, and get the server first world boss kills. The Mogushan Vaults, which is our first available raid instance, will open up 1 week after release. That 1 week delay is really there to help players feel like they don't have to rush to get to 90 and get geared up right away to join their guilds. They can take it at a more reasonable pace. If someone is busy with work during the week, for example, when the expansion comes out, they don't have to take days off from work necessarily just to not fall behind. And that was something that we felt, we heard feedback from players that it kind of frustrated them. So, but at the same time, those who really want to rush and get into raid content, 1 week after release, there'll be 6 raid bosses available. And as soon as they can, for the hardcore raiders, as soon as they defeat the normal mode of that zone, they can go into the heroic mode right away. 4 weeks later, we have the Heart of Fear and Terrace of Endless Spring raids, which become available. Now, that's actually, that is a higher difficulty level. It drops better loot than Mogushan Vaults and is tuned around having better loot than Mogushan Vaults. And so that 1 month delay is really there to give players the time to gear up and prepare for that additional difficulty that they're going to experience there. And, really 10 bosses is almost as much, or in fact more than what we've released in many full content updates, such as Firelands or Dragon Soul. So we think, that's really going to be something that players can sink their teeth into and enjoy.
That's a great question. Infinite time. So as a producer, I like the notion of actually setting a schedule and getting it done. So infinite time is actually a horrible idea for me. Infinite money, however, is a wonderful thing, right? We're all constrained by just the number of resources we have, the number of engineers or our designers or artists that we have. We'd of course love to get more armor sets in, more more animations put into the game, all of that kind of stuff. More pets put into the game, more special animations for the different pet battles, all that kind of stuff. More spell effects. Yeah, of course, all of that. Of course, we aren't quite that way, but yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, I mean, basically that. If we had infinite time and resources, I think players have been clamoring for revisions to all the player models, for example, right? We would see fully updated high-res versions of every single player race and so forth. I think one of the natural bottlenecks for how much content we can produce is just the art time involved. I think over the years, as technology advances, the actual job of design is pretty much the same. We have the same challenges of working through systems, being creative, solving problems, making the numbers work. But actually creating the resources that go into the game becomes more and more time consuming because they are, they're visually higher resolution, but that also means they take longer to create. So in an ideal world, every single boss that you fight will be completely unique with completely unique animations. And ultimately, we always have to balance the desire to deliver that experience with the desire to simply deliver content, period. And so it's, giving the best experience possible, but also not making players wait forever to get that amazing experience.
Well, we've teased a little bit with Chris Metzen telling everyone that Garrosh is certainly the going to be the focus of the end. Garrosh is pretty power mad. He wants Thrall left to deal with the Destroyer with Deathwing. He went through and redid Orgrimmar in his grand image. And Garrosh will continue to try to make power plays. One of the reasons why they're battling over Pandaria is that is another resource to draw upon. That is more power to get for Garrosh in his quest for glory. But we've got a lot of story to tell to get to that point, right? We've got patches to go through after we release Pandaria. So unfortunately, we're just going to tell you that Garrosh is certainly going to be the focus, but you're going to have to wait through some of the patches to get that story told.
Picking a favorite encounter for someone in my position, it's
What's
a hard.
Your favorite child?
Exactly. It's like picking what my favorite child is. There are a range of experiences. On one level, I can think back as a player to some of the earliest encounters that I experienced fighting a Nixie or Ragnaros for the first time, and I think every player who played back then can relate to sort of the epic feeling of downing your first raid boss ever in World of Warcraft or even potentially in any MMO period. Looking at recent encounters, I have to say I think the Ragnaros encounter in Firelands has really been one of the ones that stood out the most recently. It delivered on that epic experience that people come to expect from an end boss. We returned to the theme of, a familiar figure from Molten Core, but the fight was totally different. You still had the, by fire be purged and a couple of signature callouts, but it really felt like a modern, much more evolved version of that. And I think the heroic raiders who experience the hard mode of Ragnaros can really attest to all the extra effort that went into creating that final phase, which really was probably the single most challenging thing the game has seen to date, for now.
My favorite instance, my favorite boss, one word, Arthas. So I remember when we were in the meetings talking about how's the Arthas fight going to go? What do we want to do? We were talking about crazy things where the platform would randomly, in different sections, break off. So the players never knew what section would go out. We ultimately decided that would just drive people crazy. But Arthas is epic. Arthas was the story that was told starting way back in Warcraft 3, and I was on the strike team for that, and I remember going through that campaign and just saying, this is fantastic storytelling. I can't believe we're doing something like this in the real-time strategy game. And have it come through and come to full circle and then fight him. And it's a great fight. I love that fight. It's a hard fight. I remember just, the Valkyries have grabbed you. Get it, kill it, stop it, stun it, do something. I mean, it was a great fight for me. I love that fight so much. The classics are certainly there. I mean, the first time we downed Ragnaros, I think everybody wept. We were so happy doing that. It was such a hard fight for such a terrible group that we were. But yeah, Arthas is my love. That's a great instance. That's a great fight.
Okay, so I think in Mists of Pandaria, we set out to offer content for everybody. Regardless of what their preference is, what their gameplay style is, there's going to be something for you in this expansion. If you are the hardcore raider who just loves raiding, we have more raid bosses than ever and challenging encounters that you can really sink your teeth into. If you like questing, if you like exploring the lore of the world, we have an entirely new continent for you to explore, scattered with tons of secrets. There are rare spawn creatures in every zone, literally dozens of them. There are secret lore objects to discover and hidden treasures that give you unique items that you can, enjoy and customize your character with. We have obviously all new modes of experiencing the game through our scenario system, through challenge modes, through pet battles. So I think regardless of what you want to do, how you want to experience the World of Warcraft, there's going to be something there for you, and it's going to be an amazing experience.
I think you've got something awesome, which is you're on the back of a turtle, you're a Pandaren monk, and you're kicking ass, right? You're flying across the map with your flying kick. You're doing your whirling attack. There's some awesome gameplay to be had by being a monk and going through. Yeah, play through the rest of the world, get up to Pandaria again, but the monk is going to be awesome. And then when you want that casual diversion, go play a pet battle. Go, you and me, we'll hang out before the raid, we'll get our pets out, and we'll go kick some ass with those guys.